I was working at Chick-fil-A a couple of days ago, and I saw on the screen a 30 count nugget, a large fry, and a large sweet tea. And I was like, man, if this is for one person, it gotta be a big man. A big man with a big belly, probably like a beard and a bald head. And this is just a snack before his dinner, right? And then pull up to the window, it's just a little old lady. And she's like, it's just for my grandkids. And I'm like, bruh, that's the wrong judgment. Then I was like, wait, don't judge me or do not judge is thrown out a lot. Like, what does that term even mean? And I started to really think deeply about it. And I noticed something. When people say don't judge me, it's usually for something that someone thinks is morally wrong, right? So if a parent, for instance, right, goes home and then beats their kids because they're too loud when they're playing, and then their friend sees that parent beating their kids, the parent might be like, hey, bruh, don't judge me. This is my household. Don't judge me. It's my kids, you know? Like, seriously, bruh, don't judge me. And I'm like, that's actually true because sometimes on my binge watching on YouTube, I see street preachers going out and just preaching the gospel. Some are really bad at it, some are really good. So the good preachers, a person would come up and be like, why you judging? Why you judging me? Don't judge me, bro. Don't judge me. It's my life. I can do whatever I want. Don't judge me. But the thing is, we cannot not make judgments. We always have to make a judgment with every decision we make because a judgment, the word judgment, means to come to a conclusion about. So if I'm at Chick-fil-A, if I'm looking at the menu, I'm like, okay, what do I want? I have to come to a conclusion about what I want on the menu. I have to make a decision. I have to make a judgment about what I want. If I'm out buying a car, I have to come to a conclusion about which car I want, which car I don't want. I have to make a decision and judgment. If Even if I'm giving a compliment to someone, and this is the funny thing that I noticed, if I go out and compliment someone, let's just say it's a random lady, I'm like, hey lady, you have really nice hair. She's not like, oh, don't judge me, because it's a compliment. It makes her feel good. But compliments in themselves are judgments. I'm coming to a conclusion about what I think that person's hair is like. It looks good. That's a decision, that's a conclusion, that's a judgment. And even judges, we go to judges, criminals go to judges, and a judge has to make a decision, a judge has to come to a conclusion about what to sentence a person or to let that person go. So we make judgments all the time. Every time we make a decision, the way we walk, when we go to work, what we drive, how we drive, what we cook, what we eat, everything we make a decision about. Even scrolling through Instagram or YouTube or Netflix, we make decisions about everything. But what people really mean when they say, don't judge me, is that they want us to accept the things that they think. They want us to accept the things that they say. They want us to accept their beliefs. They want us to accept their behavior. They don't want us to tell them what is right and what is wrong. And this is exactly what the devil wants us to do. He wants us to tell them, hey, I'm not going to judge you. He wants us to tell them what you're doing is okay. He wants us to accept other people's beliefs, what they think, their behavior, regardless if it's right or wrong. He wants us to not correct people because that separates us from God. It separates other people from God. And it keeps us from living the fulfilling and abundant life that God wants us to have. But think about it for a second. If a person is out there, for example, and they have sexual thoughts about children, and they're inclined to act out these sexual thoughts with children, by us not judging a person, we're telling that person that we accept their sexual thoughts about children and that we accept their sexual behavior with children. We're okay with it if we tell them, hey, we're not judging you for that. That's what's going through that person's mind. But we know that's not okay. But the devil wants us to say we're not going to judge because he doesn't want us to correct the other person. He doesn't want that other person to not do those bad things. So the devil wants us to walk in that trap of not judging people. But here's the truth. People usually take what Jesus says out of context. What he says in Matthew chapter 7 verse 1. The first two words is judge not, right? Basically, do not judge. But people just take that little portion right there and they don't read the rest. So we're about to read it right now. Matthew 7 verses 1 through 6. This is the context. Judge not, that you be not judged. For with what judgment you judge, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. And why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye, but do not consider the plank in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me remove the speck from your eye, and look, a plank is in your own eye? Hypocrite, first remove the plank from your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Do not give what is holy to the dogs, nor cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn and tear you in pieces. Matthew 7 verses 1 through 6. So, what is Jesus saying here? First of all, he's saying not to be a hypocrite when judging. And two, he's saying judge righteously. He is not telling us not to judge. So with a hypocrite judging, for instance, it's like, let's just say I am a pathological liar. I lie a lot. Let's just say that. And I go up to a person and I'm like, hey, stop lying. Lying is bad. You shouldn't lie. And I'm judging that person for that. Well, Jesus says, remove the plank in my own eye before I try to remove the speck from my brother's eye. So me, myself, I would have to stop lying before I go out and tell other people not to lie. It's like me going out, let's just say, with stealing, for instance. Let's say I go out to a person and I'm like, hey, don't steal. Stealing is wrong. You just stole something. Go pay it back right now. That person is probably going to tell me, bro, look at your shoes. You just stole that from Foot Locker. You're a thief yourself. I'm a hypocrite. If I don't stop stealing, how can I go to someone else and tell them to stop stealing? So Jesus tells us not to judge hypocritically. And number two, judge righteously. So we have to judge according to God's standard. We have to say, hey, listen, what you're doing is wrong and it's bad for you and it's going to lead to a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. I don't want you to go through that. So how about you stop lying? How about you stop stealing? And us not being a hypocrite, we not do those things as well. But we're telling the other person, hey, how about you stop doing this thing? And we're taking the extra step to go and help that person not to do that thing. And we're helping that person on their journey with Christ. Let me give you an example. If a person has trouble with pornography, right? And a person is like, okay, this person has trouble with pornography. I myself, I don't watch pornography. I don't have a problem with that. I probably used to in the past, but I'm not that person anymore. I removed the plank out of my own eye. Now I'm going to my brother who has trouble with pornography. I'm like, hey, listen, pornography is bad for you. It ruins your flesh. You're sinning against yourself. And it's going to lead to more problems in your marriage, destroying your mind. Trust me, I know and everything. Please don't do pornography. Don't watch it at all. How about this? I'll be your accountability partner. If you're having problems with lust, you could come talk to me. Or look, I know this guy, and he could probably help you with this better than I can. But just please don't do pornography. We're in this together. Let me help you out with your walk with Jesus. Like, that's a righteous judgment. That's taking the extra step and helping your brother not do, or sister not do the wrong things. That's judging righteously. That's not judging to condemn people. That's different. Jesus doesn't say judge, judge and condemn people. He's never ever done that. He doesn't say to a person, "Hey, listen, you just committed adultery. That's wrong. You should be ashamed of yourself and then leave." No, Jesus does the same thing that I just told you about the guy with pornography. He says, "Hey, you just committed adultery. Listen, that's bad. Now let me help you with your walk with God, not to commit that sin anymore." That's what Jesus wants us to do. But he doesn't want us to say, "Hey, you did this. It's really wrong. You're a terrible person," and then leave. That's not what Jesus preaches. So Jesus is telling us in Matthew 7, verses 1 through 6, don't judge to condemn people, but judge righteously. Don't be a hypocrite when you judge, and help a person when they are in sin to get back from sin and walk righteously according to God's standard and on that narrow path. This is what Jesus wants us to do. If you like this video, give this video a thumbs up. Tell me one thing you learned from it. Put that in the comment section below. And if you have any prayer requests, of course, put that in the comment section as well. And finally, at last, hit that subscribe button. Do it now. Do it now.